Hey wonderful humans! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new around here, my name is Truc-Quan, I'm a watercolor artist and CEO of Modern Meliora. On this channel, I like to geek out about art supplies, show you behind the scenes of my art process, and share some fun DIY projects I've made. In today's video, I want to share with you 5 watercolor supplies that changed the watercolor game for me. These supplies are totally not necessary for you to get started with watercolors, but I think they're cool and very innovative. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more watercolor art content. Now let's get into this video. The first supply that I recommend is a ceramic watercolor palette. Now, I didn't start off with ceramic. I actually bought a plastic watercolor palette and then moved on to a metal tin palette. However, I really love working with a ceramic palette because it is really easy to clean with water. The watercolor puddles instead of pooling or beating up. In my experience, watercolors typically beat up on plastic palettes and metal palettes, but with ceramic it does not, and so it's really nice to be able to see the watercolor and how much watercolor you're using instead of it always beating up. It's kind of frustrating as an artist. And additionally, ceramic palettes do not stain, whereas here you can see my plastic palettes do stain. Certain colors, certain like artist grade colors do stain your palette, but that is not the case using the ceramic watercolor palette. I have 2 types of ceramic watercolor palettes that I use. One that I got from Amazon that have all these different little wells so I can put my paints. And then this one is an alternative. Some ceramic palettes are quite expensive, but you can use anything that is ceramic, including ceramic plates or even bathroom trays that I have here. So it doesn't really have to be that expensive to have a ceramic palette, but I definitely recommend it. It made my life a lot easier. There are some cons to using a ceramic palette. First, it is heavier than most plastic or metal palettes. Therefore, I don't think it's that travel friendly. And you also want to consider, not wanting to break the ceramic palette. So that's the only really downside that I see, is that it's more of a studio use and not very travel friendly or portable. Next, I highly recommend the portable water cup. This one I got from Amazon. It's from Faber-Castell. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I really enjoy it because it is travel friendly. You can collapse it down further for storage, so it's perfect for me to put into my watercolor travel set and just go paint. It also includes a slight brush rest. The rim of the water cup has little ridges that you can easily put your brushes on when you're not using it to paint. It's also super easy to clean because it is made from silicone. So you can just wipe it or clean it with water and you're good to go. And also, I think it's very affordable. It's around $5 that I got from my art store, but on Amazon it's around $5 to $6 too. So it's a really great option for watercolor artists who like to paint outside, but I think it's awesome for studio use as well. Okay, so this next watercolor supply I think is like pure genius. It is called the Paint Puck. I got mine from Blick's Art Supplies. I believe you can get it on Amazon. I think it comes in a pack of 3 for around $15 to $16. However, I got mine at Blick's Art Supplies for around $5 or $6. A little bit pricey for this tiny supply. However, I think it is like absolutely fabulous. It gets excess watercolor off your brush. All you have to do is suction it on to the bottom of whichever water cup that you're using, and you're able to get the excess watercolor off in order for you to use the next paint. It's made of silicone, so it's super easy to clean, and it's very small and portable. I have 2, one for my studio and then one for my travel watercolor set. I absolutely love it, and it makes cleaning watercolor from your brush so easy. I highly recommend the Paint Puck. So get it if you can. Number 4 on my list of top 5 game changers are half pans. Empty half pans specifically. So when I started my watercolor journey, I didn't really know about empty half pans because I had bought watercolor palettes where the paints were already in it, and I never thought that I could just buy watercolor tubes and then put my own paints into these half pans. But honestly, it is like one of the best things ever because like I said, you can put your own paints into them, and these half pans, they fit a lot of the palettes that you might see on the market already because half pans are pretty much standard size. You can also buy full pans too if you prefer that. I just prefer half pans because I can get a lot of colors into one palette, but you can use magnet strips and put them on the back of these half pans in order to magnetize them onto any type of metal tins or containers that you have. So this is a really great DIY hack for anyone who wants to create their own like travel watercolor palettes with their own paints. Since you can use metal tins such as like Altoid tins, something like that, in order to create like a travel-friendly watercolor set. So that's kind of what I've been doing currently. I just buy my own watercolor tubes and then put them in empty half pans and then create a bunch of different palettes from that. So you can create your own personal palette. It's super easy to move around. So instead of putting colors directly into whatever like container that you have, in that way you kind of have to use like the full watercolor before you change them out. But with half pans, you can just switch them out for a different half pan, so you don't have to kind of stick with whatever watercolor you filled in there. So super easy to move around, and also half pans are relatively cheap. I think you can get like 50 or 100 half pans for under $100, and then you can buy your own magnet strips on the back. Last but certainly not least, number 5 on my list of recommended watercolor supplies is a water spray bottle. So watercolors need to be wet in order for it to release the pigment and you get the color. So with a spray bottle, just a mini one is fine, that you fill with water. You can spray your watercolors for a couple seconds before you start painting, and it's going to just like help the watercolors become wet and super juicy, and most importantly, vibrant. And it really does help, like using a spray bottle, spraying your watercolors before using versus just diving into with a wet paintbrush. So I definitely recommend a spray bottle. It's relatively cheap. You can get it for a couple bucks, maybe $1 at the Dollar Tree, but you can get a few, one for your travel set and then one for your use in the studio, and it's super great to create vibrant colors. So there you have it. That is my top 5 watercolor supplies picks. For the most part, they're relatively cheap, under $10, and they make watercoloring so much more convenient. What are some watercolor supplies that you love and changed the game for you? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in my next video. Bye!